State's most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. The rain, well, it's here. It's been here for a full day now and it's sticking around just a little bit longer. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
We've got a couple days left here of the rain that's going to come down. Number one, it's light for this Friday morning, but here's what we're really keeping our eyeballs on. Don't worry about this. That's moving off this way. It's this line that runs from the Oklahoma-Kansas state line all the way up to about the Nebraska-Kansas state line. And reason being, that thing is starting to throw down some thunderstorm warnings. And so as this thing moves from west to east, that's what we will be keeping our eyes on for today. The thunderstorm warnings right now going to be in this general vicinity, going to last until about 5:30. Now, I haven't had any reports of hail, but have had some lightning associated with that, and this is the elongated part of it. Of course, we're under the flood watch. We knew that. We knew that wasn't going to go anywhere. But once again, as everything moves from outside of Wichita and heads toward us, that thunderstorm warning right there lasts until, say, about 6:15 on the one that they just generated out to the north of Wichita. A little bit chilly out there, high 40s, low 50s. And as far as what we're looking at from the national perspective, the big line of thunderstorm activity right along the warm and cold front there, kind of stretching from the boot heel to the mid-Atlantic, but we've still got more low pressure that's going to generate for today. As a matter of fact, today we're going to see heavier rain than really what we saw yesterday, and it's going to take us all the way into the weekend. The 7-day forecast going to throw up temperatures in the 60s. But once again, our biggest threat is the fact that 70 and 80% chance we know it's coming. And so we're still going to go with that 3 to 5 inches, pockets of 6 inches, Tanya, before we even get to Monday.
Just be prepared for it. Be safe out there. Well, Freeman Hospital has been a four-state leader in the fight against the coronavirus ever since it was officially declared a pandemic by the WHO a year ago. And its staff has learned a lot about the virus and its victims during the last 12 months. The hospital's director of COVID services says he's proud of how the Freeman team grew and adapted as they dealt with the deadly disease with a lot of unknowns.
It really was a lot like trying to fly a 757 that you're building at the exact same time. So a year into this, we've expanded out our resources quite a bit. We have 2 completely stocked units that are available for high-level ICU care level patients.
Staff at Freeman also says that while they hate seeing their patients suffering from the coronavirus, there is a special thrill that comes with seeing them recover and reunite with loved ones. The Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is offering on-site COVID-19 vaccination clinics for businesses with more than 20 employees. The center recommends businesses set up a break room or open area that can be used as a vaccination site. They also say vaccine recipients should have a 15-minute observation period after the dose before returning to work.
We are offering those businesses that have 20 or more participants will go to the business and provide the vaccine on site. Those businesses with less than 25, if they want to send us their employees and their phone number, we will call the employees and get them scheduled at one of our clinics individually.
Eligible businesses that want to set up a clinic should contact the health center. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt says he's signing an executive order to lift all remaining COVID-19 restrictions in the state. He also announced he's removing the mask requirements in state buildings. He says as long as he's governor, he will protect the freedoms of all Oklahomans. But Stitt said COVID-19 is not going away and encouraged people to take personal responsibility and remain vigilant.
Let me be clear. COVID is still here. It's still in Oklahoma. It's still in the United States. And we still need to do our part. You can still, and you're even encouraged to wear a mask depending on your circumstances. And I've said from the very beginning, the standard for normal cannot be 0 cases. In Oklahoma, the standard for normal is freedom.
The CDC reports more than 21% of the state's population has now received at least 1 dose of the coronavirus vaccine. That's the 12th highest vaccination rate in the United States. The Lawrence County, Missouri Sheriff's Office is asking for help identifying the body of a woman hit and killed by oncoming traffic on I-44. Sheriff's Office released photos of tattoos on the woman's body, hoping someone might recognize them to help identify her. Authorities say the woman was killed on March 6th when she ran into traffic and was hit by a vehicle. Authorities also say she, 18 to 24 years old, between 5'2" and 5'4" tall, with blonde or strawberry hair and gray or blue eyes. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. The Joplin area could lose its designation as a metropolitan area. A legislative review committee recommends that the U.S. Office of Management and Budget change the classification for metropolitan areas. The change would require the population for a core city to be above 100,000 instead of 50,000 like it's been for 70 years. That would change 144 cities, including Joplin, from metropolitan areas to micropolitan areas, something that local officials feel could impact the city negatively.
The key difference that we've learned over the last few weeks, and we've been meeting with other similar situated small MSAs, is the impact it would have on our city and actually nonprofits when they apply for federal grants.
There is an open comment period for the designation change, but it ends pretty soon on March 20th. We have a link to where you can leave a comment on this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. When you're thinking about donating to a local charity, you don't have to think in terms of just cash. There are other donations that could be just as life-changing for people in need, like a car. Someone donated a 2006 Toyota Sienna van to Watered Gardens Ministry. Watered Gardens gave that car to a mother at their Washington Family Hope Center.
They were super excited. They kept asking me, did you get your tags? Did you get your tags? And yesterday when I got the tags, I got home and they're like, let's go driving. I said, well, we're going to drive to church and that's where we're going.
Watered Gardens Ministries thanks everyone for their donations over the years, big or small. That's awesome. It's 5:07.
Our rain for Friday morning, not widespread by any means. We see a pop-up every now and then along I-44 in between Carthage and Mount Vernon, up in between Chanute and Iola as well. And then you transition out here. I know it's on the west side of Wichita, but they've got severe thunderstorm warnings and everything is kind of moving our way. So we'll be keeping an eyeball on that as well. Rain lasting throughout Friday. Temperatures up into the mid-50s. Remember, the heaviest rain we're anticipating is going to be this afternoon through Friday night, all the way into Saturday. Flood watches until Saturday and Sunday.
And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Frontenac and Cheney face off in Manhattan in the Final Four. We'll have highlights from the game, plus a timeline on when the U.S. might reach herd immunity, what that would mean for Americans. And Netflix is cracking down on password sharing, how the new feature works to stop you if you share an account with other people. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Team returned to the basketball state semifinals. Raiders had a tough one yesterday, ends in the Final Four. Had to host the Cheney Cardinals. Cheney a perfect 23-0 coming into last night, but it was Frontenac that came out hot. Sidney Frankenberry from the corner, boom. Then Heather Arnett catches the defense sleeping. Heather runs the floor. Raiders up 7, 14 for Arnett. And then number 2 got going. Her name is Kylie Shear, and she opened up in the second quarter. Now that's Hattie Pyle with the 3 for Frontenac as the Raiders tried to claw back in it in the third, and then Reagan Hipful strong to the hole as well. But Shear not having it. She had 23 points last night. Congratulations to Frontenac and head coach Scott Fields on a wonderful season as they shared third place in the state for Class 3A and finished 19-4 overall. East Newton boys enjoying a historic season, making the state quarterfinals for the first time in program history. Our own Danny Terzer caught up with the Patriots as they aim to keep the season alive and make the Class 4 Final Four.
The East Newton boys are having a historic season. It means a lot. I mean, we've always dreamed about this since like coming in as small freshmen. That's always one thing we've wanted to have, is just like to look back on us and just know that we've kind of made our mark on the school.
The legacy that they're going to leave, maybe the best team in East Newton history is pretty special, but they've earned that. They've deserved that, and their work up to this point has really put them, kind of in that seat.
Their next goal is to make the program's first ever trip to the Final Four.
It's been something to remember, but we don't want it to be done yet.
As the team's success builds, so does their confidence.
We feel great about it. We feel ready. We feel confident, and we're just excited to be out there and have the opportunity to play. We've
won tournaments. We've went on winning streaks, and I've had a lot of success in this building. They feel like they belong. They belong in the sectional game or a quarterfinal game, or belong in the Final Four.
The team has had multiple leading scorers this season, and 3 players have hit 1,000 career points.
We have everybody that on any given night can drop 15, 20 points when needed, so it helps a lot to be able to share the ball like that.
They're willing to sacrifice every day. They're real unselfish, and that's what makes us special.
The Patriots are taking a no-pressure approach to just enjoy the ride. In Granby, Danny Terzer, KOAM Sports.
Patriots hit the floor against Blair Oaks. Quarterfinals take place tonight, tipping off at 6 p.m. Missouri Class II State Wrestling Championships yesterday. We have 4 local champions. We'll start with Brady Roark, the champ at 106 pounds, Brady out of Seneca. Then from Monette, you got Elias Barrientos at 152 pounds and Ethan Humfleet at 182. And then Pitt State football commit Zach Conan out of Cassville. He's got a state championship as well, wrestling at 220. Joplin MMA fighter TJ Britton, just 8 days away from one of the biggest fights of his career. Britton's going to fight for a title and do it in his own backyard. Here's our own sports director, Jacob Leonard.
TJ Britton is about to step in the cage for one of the biggest fights in his MMA career.
Hey, you got to work now. You got to work. These opportunities don't come all the time, and so when an opportunity comes knocking like this, you jump on it, and it did, and we jumped on it.
Britton will fight at Cage of Honor 81 on the 20th with the featherweight title on the line.
Most fighters don't hold titles as a pro. This opportunity to be able to do that is on one of the longest running promotions in Missouri, in the 4-state area, honestly. It's truly a blessing.
Same pace the whole round. Keep it out there. Keep that jab out there. Stay busy.
He gets this opportunity in his own backyard, fighting in Joplin.
My last few fights have been on national television, and people are watching, but you can't look into the camera and see them. It does give you a lot of energy. This will be my first fight that my kids are coming to watch me live, so that gets me a little excited.
Britton will square up with Sky Mosicek out of Florida.
Cameras ain't not gonna make him nervous. He comes in and he's ready to fight. He's gonna be there to fight 5 rounds.
Hey, this gotta be your best round. Last round gotta be your best round.
These are the type of fights I get excited about. He has a lot of heart. I have a lot of heart, so it's gonna be a very interesting fight.
Win or lose, Britton says he's already put in the work, and this fight is the reward.
That's why a lot of times I'm smiling in the cage, because that's the fun part. That's the part that I've worked hard for to get me where I'm at, and I just I have fun. I want to be a light in this dark world, so I'll go in and have fun.
All right, best of luck to TJ here. Cage of Honor 81. It's going to take place at Elevate the Game in Joplin. It is on the 20th. Fights begin at 6 p.m. On a little college baseball action, Missouri Southern up to number 4 in the nation, playing a doubleheader against Missouri Western yesterday. Game 1, Lions win it 8-6. Game 2, brust out the bats. Missouri Southern puts up a 13 spot, limits Western to only 1 run. This series maybe wraps up this morning at 11 a.m. See if Mother Nature let them squeeze that in. So to come on the KOAM Morning News, an on-camera comment.
Prince William responds to his brother Harry's claims of royal racism. I'm Tina Kraus with what the future king had to say.
And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Our Friday morning rain, rather sporadic, rather light. We find ourselves about 20 minutes after the 5 o'clock hour here to wrap up the work/school week. Do have a little yellow that popped up there just on the north side of I-44 in between Monette and Carthage. And we've got some light rain throughout southeast Kansas. This is creeping closer though. that one right there. Now we know we've got the flood watch for everybody indicated in green. Same thing we had as yesterday. That being said, see a little dark line right there? Well, now we've got flood warnings for the Marmaton and the Sac River up throughout southwest Missouri. Then we got yellow sitting over here. Well, that's going to be a severe thunderstorm warning. This thing lasts all the way until 6. Importance about this is everything's moving from west to east. No storm reports with it. Have picked up a fair amount of lightning right along that line, but that's kind of what we'll be tracking here throughout the course of the morning as it gets closer to us. No storm reports for us. We did end up with about 0.8 of an inch of rain in Joplin. I know I've already seen some 1.5, 2 inches from what we had just yesterday alone. Temperatures high 40s, low 50s. That's the big line right along the temperature contour. That's the one that we want to watch that's out kind of in central Kansas right now. Our weather trend going to lift us up into the 50s, but the important part is that the rain doesn't stop. The heaviest going to be this morning into afternoon hours. And then look at this line we've got along 44 for tonight. Comes right out of OKC through us. And then for Saturday we transition, take the northern portion of the 4 states with additional rainfall. That's exactly why those flood watches last until Saturday for southwest Missouri and Sunday for southeast Kansas. Temperatures in the 60s over the weekend. Well, I have not had any reports of flooded roads as of yet. We're going to be there by tonight. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. If you share a Netflix account with other people, listen up. Company's terms of service says you may not be shared with individuals beyond your household. Now the streaming giant testing a new feature that could crack down on password sharing. The way it works, when a user selects their profile on a shared Netflix account, a pop-up asks them to verify the account. That's done with text or email sent to the account holder. If you can't authorize the code, you're going to be advised to get your own account. Our question to you, do you share a Netflix account, and would you still watch it if it cracks down on password sharing? You can let us know on Facebook or take part in our Insta poll. Go to komnewsnow.com/vote. Be right back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, you've probably heard the term herd immunity a lot during this pandemic. And when it comes to COVID-19, it means the time when a large enough portion of a population becomes immune to the virus, making the spread from person to person unlikely. And now some top health experts are putting a timeline on when the U.S. might reach that point. Mandy Gaither explains.
When more Americans get vaccinated, it's less likely COVID-19 will spread. The U.S. could hit herd immunity by this summer through vaccination alone.
If you look at the planned rollout of the vaccines, that we would hopefully get to that point somewhere by the end of the summer and the early fall.
According to the latest numbers, we still have a ways to go. Herd immunity thresholds for COVID-19 are only estimates at this point, but experts generally agree that somewhere between 70% and 85% of the population must be protected to suppress the spread. Getting there before next winter will be key.
If we can get to 80% population immunity by the end of the summer, then we won't see a surge next winter, because this is basically a winter respiratory virus, and it'll be back unless we have a significant percentage of the population vaccinated.
When the weather gets warmer, health experts say that will also help.
If you look at what happened last summer, when 100% of the population was susceptible and we didn't have a vaccine, still those numbers came down and then surged again in the winter.
But it all hinges on Americans getting their COVID-19 vaccinations.
If a significant number of people do not get vaccinated, then that would delay where we would get to that endpoint.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
At the current pace of about 2 million doses per day, including 100 million doses of the single-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine, 70% of the U.S. population could be fully vaccinated around the end of July and 85% by mid-September. A new study in the journal Human Reproduction finds more twins are being born in the world than ever before. Since the 1980s, more than 1 million twins have been born each year globally, due in part to IVF, artificial insemination, and delays in childbearing. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
The rain continues to fall down on this Friday morning. Now we kind of start out on the lucky side. This is not coming down like cats and dogs, anything right now, but I want to pay attention to what's out to the west of our highlighted counties. It's starting to creep in just a little bit. As a matter of fact, in between Hutch and Wichita, they've got a severe thunderstorm warning that lasts until 6. So as that progresses from west to east, playing a role in our later morning weather. Temperatures right now in the high 40s, low 50s, going to end up in about the mid to high 50s. But once again, it's the flooding that's going to be the major concern as we anticipate our heaviest rain later this morning through the afternoon hours.
A grim anniversary. Frontline health workers at Freeman Hospital talk about their experience battling the pandemic this past year. Plus, what you need to know about the on-site vaccination clinic at the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas. And Joplin's at risk of losing its metropolitan area classification. What that could mean for the city.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. The rain is officially here and it's sticking around all day and hanging around all weekend. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
All right, updating a severe thunderstorm warning there, Tanya. So we'll check that out in just a second as we look at our 4 state counties. It's kind of sporadic and not too heavy, at least here at the 5:30 hour, but that's going to change. Here's what I was just taking a look at is what's out here by Hutch, in between Hutch and Wichita. You've got flood watches for us in green. We've got flood warnings for the Marmonton and the Sac rivers, and the yellow indicating a severe thunderstorm warning. And they've got a portion of this that's actually been extended till about 6 a.m. What we're going to do is we're going to keep our eyes on that line right there, starting to pick up some lightning with it. And the important aspect of it is its direction of travel as it moves from west to east. We've got a couple hours before it gets here, certainly, but if you're radar watching, that's one to keep your eyes on. High 40s, low 50s. Got widespread thunderstorm activity from the Boot Heel to the Mid-Atlantic, but that's the one that we're going to pay attention to. Not a whole lot of movement temperature-wise. We'll go mid-50s later on, but today we're going to anticipate more rain, harder rain, than what we got yesterday. So there we are. That's the system that moves in from the thunderstorm warning we were just talking about. Then we get a little break up to the north, but look at the line that develops on 44 for the Friday night into Saturday, continues to roll through for Saturday morning. And just because you're up to the north doesn't mean you're out of it, because look at Saturday afternoon. Right back on the other side of the 4 states. And so that's why those flood watches that we have, all encompassing, and just about every county in the midst of one. And we'll finally get a break here, at least rain chances calming down by the time we get to Monday. But still going to be a wet and flooded weekend. Tanya?
That's right. Keep an eye on that for sure. A Republican lawmaker in Kansas outlined a measure that would overturn Democratic Governor Laura Kelly's policy of withholding doses of COVID-19 vaccines from counties wanting to move to a new phase of inoculations before the rest of the state. Senate Health Committee Chair Richard Hildebrand called the policy blackmail or extortion. State Department of Health and Environment has described withholding vaccine doses as an enforcement mechanism. And Governor Kelly says the goal is to, quote, keep the train running as smoothly as possible as we can. Freeman Hospital has been a 4-state leader in the fight against the coronavirus ever since it was officially declared a pandemic by the WHO a year ago. And its staff has learned a lot about the virus and its victims during the last 12 months. Hospital's director of COVID services says he's proud of how the Freeman team grew and adapted as they dealt with a deadly disease with a lot of unknowns.
It really was a lot like trying to fly a 757 that you're building at the exact same time. So a year into this, we've expanded out our resources quite a bit. We have 2 completely stocked units that are available for high-level ICU care level patients.
Staff at Freeman also says that while they hate seeing their patients suffering from the coronavirus, there is a special thrill that comes with seeing them recover and reunite with loved ones. The Joplin Health Department reports 3 more COVID-19 related deaths. The health department says the 3 patients were all women ages 69, 70, and 78. The latest deaths bring the city's total to 127. A reminder, Monday, the state of Missouri will move to the next phase of its COVID-19 distribution plan. The next phase includes those who are already eligible, plus it adds workers in communication fields, energy services, food production, elected officials, IT employees, transportation service employees, and workers in water or wastewater services. 2 COVID vaccination clinics are planned at Downstream Casino. The first will be on March 17th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It'll be open only to all Quapaw Nation tribal members, tribal employees, casino workers, and family members. And then on April 13th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., everyone living in the 4 states and surrounding areas can get a vaccine. The clinic will be at the pavilion at Downstream Casino. No appointments are needed, but vaccines are limited. Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is offering on-site COVID-19 vaccination clinics for businesses with more than 20 employees. The center recommends businesses set up a break room or open area that can be used as a vaccination site. They also say vaccine recipients should have a 15-minute observation period after the dose before returning to work. Under a federal proposal, Joplin is at risk of losing its status as a metropolitan area. That proposal would designate Joplin as a micropolitan area instead of a metropolitan. Currently in the U.S., there are 384 metropolitans and 543 micropolitans. A metropolitan is an urban cluster with an anchor city of 50,000 or more people. A micropolitan's anchor city has a population of 10,000 or more. The new federal proposal would increase the threshold to be considered a metropolitan area to 100,000 plus people. Chamber of Commerce President Toby Teeter says taking away the classification could impact the federal grants for city governments and nonprofits. And things unclear so far for nonprofits like the Lafayette House, which is still trying to see how they may be directly impacted if the change goes through.
We might have some different opportunities if Joplin were considered a smaller area, but we're hopeful that it wouldn't have an impact on some of our existing funding, which is so critical to us.
There is an open comment period for the designation change, but it ends pretty soon on March 20th. We have a link to where you can leave a comment on this story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we hear from the director of the Bolus Center on how the theater is getting through the pandemic and preview some upcoming shows you won't want to miss. Plus, Prince William responds to allegations of racism in the royal family. We'll have the latest there, but first, it's 5:37.
Even with the little Friday morning rain, we were able to avoid any lightning. It's kind of sporadic right now, but remember, it's coming out from the west where they've got severe thunderstorm warnings. That's what we'll watch on the radar, with heavy rain anticipated late morning all the way through the afternoon. We'll be back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch, Britain's Prince William responds to allegations of racism in the royal family after Harry and Meghan's explosive interview with Oprah on CBS. Tina Kraus has the latest from London.
Sir, have you spoken to your brother since the interview? No, I haven't spoken yet, but I will do.
It's the first on-camera comment from a senior royal since Prince Harry and his wife Meghan exposed claims of racism in the royal family.
The royal family a racist family, sir? No, we're very much not a racist family.
The denial comes several days after Harry and Meghan told Oprah someone in the royal family was concerned about what color their unborn son Archie's skin would be.
How dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
The Queen issued a statement from Buckingham Palace on Tuesday saying the race allegations are concerning and will be addressed by the royal family privately.
That conversation.
Prince Harry told Oprah the racist remark did not come from Queen Elizabeth or her 99-year-old husband, Prince Philip, who remains in a London hospital after a heart procedure.
But it leaves a big question mark over other members of the family. And very senior members of the family. So it's a very serious charge.
Prince Harry also accused UK tabloids of bigotry and creating a toxic environment of control and fear.
This is an unworkable.
A group of female British lawmakers says the powerful papers should be held accountable for attacking Meghan.
There's a real sense that she was an outsider, that she wasn't good enough for our royal family.
The politicians are expected to demand a royal reckoning, calling for a public debate on racism in the media at Britain's Houses of Parliament. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
It's extremely rare for a member of the royal family to answer a reporter's question during a public appearance. The United Nations Population Fund says the pandemic has left millions of women without access to contraceptives. The agency says the situation illustrates how the virus has disproportionately affected women who've also been dealing with an increase in childcare responsibilities and widespread job losses over the past year. Researchers from the UN Population Fund have found an estimated 12 million women across more than 100 low to middle income countries could no longer get family planning, resulting in almost 1.5 million unplanned pregnancies worldwide last year. An artist's plan to create a human chain of hands reaching around the globe is one step closer to completion. Jaume Legros recently sprayed a huge painting of two giant interlaced hands on the shore of Benin Beach in West Africa. It was the 10th step of his Beyond Walls project. He began the project almost 2 years ago in Paris. Legros, who's known as Sepi, says his artwork will cross borders in an attempt to carry out a universal message of friendship and togetherness. So far, Sepi has visited 3 continents and has painted 37 pairs of hands. Pretty cool. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
All right, Tanya, on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, if you share a Netflix account with other people, well, the company's terms of service is going to try putting into that. Streaming giant testing a new feature cracking down on password sharing. So when a user selects a profile on a shared Netflix account, pop-up's going to ask you to verify it, either text to your phone or send you an email. And users can also choose to verify later, in which case the pop-up will show up again at an undetermined date. Now, if you can't confirm you're an authorized user, viewers are going to be prompted to set up a new account. Our question to you is, do you have access to Netflix, and would you use it if you do use a shared account? And they said, nah, get your own. We'll pick up our comments with Kenny Kimmel, club member. Kenny says, don't watch it now. Have no intention to watch it in the future. It's interesting, Kenny, because that almost mirrors our Insta poll we'll get to in a second. Grace Wilson says, I share with family. If they do that, then no. Grace isn't going back. Guy Hansen says, Netflix is so boring, I canceled it. Besides, there's breaking news. That's a pretty good one, Guy. I'm not going to lie to you. I like that. Becky Mangarelli says, I don't share my account. So sure, I'll still watch it. Earl Haas says, I would not continue to Netflix. I would, however, continue to chill. Well played, Earl. And Rocky Cunningham says, I really don't care either way. More of a Hulu kind of guy. It's a lot cheaper and better for binge watching. And we do love you, Aunt Pat. Now, on the KOAM News Now Insta poll, how do you have access to Netflix is what we were asking. 36% of you said don't even use it. 47% own account, and this number has actually slipped throughout the course of the show on someone else's account, now down to 17%. Feel free to give us your opinion. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. In his first primetime speech, President Biden marked the 1-year anniversary of the global pandemic. The president announced he is directing states to make all adults eligible for COVID vaccines by May 1st, though he said it would take longer for everyone to get the shot. He also said if people do the right thing, there's a good chance Americans will be able to have small gatherings on July 4th. Freeman Hospital has been a 4-state leader in the fight against the coronavirus ever since it was officially declared a pandemic by the WHO a year ago. And its staff has learned a lot about the virus and its victims during the last 12 months. The hospital's director of COVID services says he's proud of how the Freeman team grew and adapted as they dealt with a deadly disease with a lot of unknowns. The Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is offering on-site COVID-19 vaccination clinics for businesses with more than 20 employees. The center recommends businesses set up a break room or open area that can be used as a vaccination site. They also say vaccine recipients should have a 15-minute observation period after the dose before returning to work. Joplin area could lose its designation as a metropolitan area. Legislative Review Committee recommends that the U.S. Office of Management and Budget change the classification for metropolitan areas. The change would require the population for a core city to be above 100,000 instead of 50,000 like it's been for 70 years. That would change 144 cities, including Joplin, from metropolitan areas to micropolitan areas, something that local officials feel could impact the city negatively. That's a check on today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Where we stand at 12 minutes until the top of the hour with overcast skies, a little sporadic rain for our highlighted counties. It's all eyes out to the west where they have a thunderstorm warning in between Hutch and Wichita lasting until 6 a.m. This thing is progressing from west to east. That's why we're keeping our eyes on it, and you can tell the amount of lightning strikes that have come down with that as it creeps closer to our counties. Temperatures in the mid-50s today. Biggest threat, flooding. Heaviest rains from mid-morning all the way into Saturday. And of course, you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app. As we get closer to the springtime, hopefully, we're going to be able to attend events in person once again. And I tell you what, creative entertainers, obviously, they've had a tough time in the past year. But one place that is actually bringing us great entertainment is the Thomas H. Bolus Fine Arts Center, and that's in Iola, Kansas. And we are fortunate enough to be joined this morning by Daniel Kays. Daniel's the executive director, no stranger to the show. Just usually, Daniel, we have you in studio. Let's talk about what we've got coming up on the docket here immediately before we jump to another kind of nationally known a group. We'll get to them in a second, but what do we have coming up immediately here?
Fantastic. This Saturday we have Ryan and Ryan. They are a father-son jazz piano duo. They have been to the Bolus in years past, and I had lost a show where an artist could not come out, and so I quickly looked down my group of people that I wanted to bring, and I said, hey, they're in Tulsa. They all have to do is drive up and they should be able to make it. And so we reached out and they are excited. Donald, the father, is a well-known jazz and classical piano player. He's in the Hall of Fame in Oklahoma. And his son, Barron, is just as amazing. And he is a composer. Right now, he's one of the 10 recognized people in the Smithsonian Magazine as an innovator. There's an article about him composing some beautiful music for the whole story of the events that happened in Tulsa over 100 years ago. So they're a fantastic group, and we just can't wait to have them here, and they can't wait to be here. It'll be their first show back since March.
That's tremendous. We got them coming up tomorrow on Saturday, and then a week from tomorrow on the 20th. We have a group called Lightwire Theater, and kind of nationally renowned with what they've been able to do on television, quite frankly. I understand that you actually have a little past experience with this great group, and we're going to meet Ian Carney here in just a little bit, but I understand this is kind of a long-running thing that you've been trying to book them at different places?
It is, absolutely. I was with an outdoor amphitheater in California, and I knew about them back then because they were the semifinalists on AGT, America's Got Talent. And I was like, I want to bring this group, but I want to bring them into an outdoor amphitheater. And the basic requirement of this show is that it has to be the darkest theater possible in order for the puppetry to work and the magic to work because of the way the costumes light up. And so I reached out to the agent, reached out to the group and said, would you be willing to come to the amphitheater as long as we could promise the darkest night possible? And so we all looked at the moon calendar to figure out when will the moon not be in the sky, and when do we think that we'll be able to have a dark sky to be able to have the show outside in the outdoor amphitheater.
That is a tremendous small world story right there, Daniel. That is awesome. And you know what? The entire 4 states need to thank you for being able to bring Lightwire here to us at the Thomas H. Bolus Fine Arts Center. Daniel, can't thank you enough for everything that you and your organization does. Like I said, and like you were saying, I know it's been a tremendously stressful, tough year, but at the same point in time, it feels like we're progressing forward. And the fact that you are bringing in an Oklahoma Hall of Fame pianist tomorrow, and then bringing Lightwire Theater a week from tomorrow, how do we find tickets?
Look at the website and you give us a phone call. We want to make sure you're safe, so we want to make sure you're socially distanced. We cannot sell online, but over the phone, we will sell you your tickets, put you in seats, and put 3 seats between you and the next order, and every other row is skipped so that you have a 6-foot bubble around your family and your pod and be able to see the show. So give us a call. look at our website, follow us on Facebook, and we'll take care of you.
Daniel, can't thank enough for number one, looking out for people's safety. Number two, providing us with creative entertainment once again. Daniel Kay is Executive Director of the Thomas H. Bolus Fine Arts Center. I appreciate your time, sir. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this. Here's where we're standing right now on the Skywatch Storm Tracker on a Friday morning, about 2.5 minutes till the 6 o'clock hour. Now the green kind of blends in. Of course, the green background there, that indicates our flood watches. Our rain really hasn't been too bad. It's been kind of light, but I want to transition over here just on the west side of Wichita, particularly right in the middle there where you see that pink coming down. That's torrential rain, and that's a severe thunderstorm warning that lasts till 6:30. Here's the key factor. This thing's moving east, right along Highway 400. So it's headed our way, and then you throw on the lightning tracker, and you can see the lightning also creeping our way as well. So that's why mid-morning into the afternoon, that's when we're anticipating the heavy stuff. Let's go ahead and plan on some flooded roads and make backup plans if you have anything this weekend that's outside. We'll be right back after this.
A grim anniversary. Frontline health workers at Freeman Hospital talk about their experience battling the pandemic this past year. Plus, what you need to know about the on-site vaccination clinic at the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas. And Joplin's at risk of losing its metropolitan area classification, what that could mean for the city.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. May feel like we're getting a little break from the rain, but it's coming again. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
Sure enough is, Tanya, it's going to be here not only throughout today, but all the way through the weekend as well. I got a little light rain coming down in southwest Missouri Central. With the break Tanya was talking about, Chanute picked up 1/2 inch yesterday alone, Joplin 0.8 of an inch, and we're a long way from being over. We're still going to sit on that 3 to 5 inches of accumulation before we get to the weekend. Much of the action sitting out to the west of us right now, but we're keeping a close eye on it because we've got thunderstorm warnings on the west side of Wichita that do last until 6 o'clock. These have been extended now, and this thing's packing a pretty good punch as far as lightning goes. Heavy torrential rainfall as well, and it's moving east along Highway 400 right toward us. That's why it's kind of one I'm eyeballing, not to dismiss what we've got going on exactly in our highlighted counties, but that's the one that poses pretty much the best threat right now. High 40s, low 50s temperature-wise, mid-50s later on this afternoon, but the important part is we can't escape the thunderstorms as it works in from the Wichita area all the way through the central portion as we approach noon. Then we'll turn our attention down to the southwest. Good line forms for the evening hours that'll carry us into Saturday. Now, up to the north, you're going, all right, so we stayed out of the fray. Not the case. Watch what happens on Saturday. We're going to start revamping in central Kansas right there, and that's going to roll through all the way into the north, and that's why our flood watches are pretty much widespread. Also, too, we now have flood warnings for both the Marmonton and the Sac rivers in northern southwest Missouri. Remember, when you get a warning, that means it's already flooded. Watch means let's all be ready for it. Warning means it's imminent, it's going to happen. 60s on Saturday and Sunday. Don't forget to spring those clocks forward, and don't forget to avoid flooded roads.
Yes, turn around, don't drown.
I was waiting for it. I knew you were going to give it to me at some point today.
I was waiting for us to be up at the same amount of time, you know, so I could say it.
I got you.
Yeah, turn around, don't drown. Just be safe. Thank you. My soapbox. On the anniversary of the pandemic, KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke with frontline workers at Joplin's Freeman Hospital about what they've learned fighting the coronavirus over the last year.
The hospital has been a 4-state leader in the fight against the coronavirus ever since it was officially declared a pandemic by the WHO a year ago. And its staff has learned a lot about the virus and its victims during the last 12 months.
Resiliency of the nursing staff, the medical staff, the patients, just everything that everybody has went through, they've always came out to on the other side with a positive attitude.
The hospital's director of COVID services says he is proud of how the Freeman team grew and adapted as they dealt with a deadly disease with a lot of unknowns.
It really was a lot like trying to fly a 757 that you're building at the exact same time. So a year into this, you know, we've expanded out our resources quite a bit. We have 2 completely stocked units that are available for high-level ICU care level patients.
And the hospital's director of service excellence and pastoral care says the virus knowledge acquired over the past year has helped immensely when talking to scared patients and families who are looking for answers.
A year ago today, none of us knew anything. We had so many more questions and 0 answers. Now over the last year, we have more answers. We have more historical knowledge, and so we can say, we've seen patients in this situation over the last year, and here's, how we faced it.
In Joplin, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Staff at Freeman also say that while they hate seeing their patients suffering from the coronavirus, there is a special thrill that comes with seeing them recover and reunite with loved ones. Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is offering on-site COVID-19 vaccination clinics for businesses with more than 20 employees. The center recommends businesses set up a break room or open area that can be used as a vaccination site. They also say vaccine recipients should have a 15-minute observation period after the dose before returning to work.
We are offering those businesses that have 20 or more participants will go to the business and provide the vaccine on site. Those businesses with less than 25, if they want to send us their employees and their phone number, we will call the employees and get them scheduled at one of our clinics individually.
Eligible businesses that want to set up a clinic should contact the health center. Joplin area could lose its designation as a metropolitan area. Legislative Review Committee recommends that the U.S. Office of Management and Budget change the classification for metropolitan areas. The change would require the population for a core city to be above 100,000 instead of 50,000 like it's been for 70 years. That would change 144 cities, including Joplin, from metropolitan areas to micropolitan areas, something that local officials feel could impact the city negatively.
The key difference that we've learned over the last few weeks, and we've been meeting with other similar situated small MSAs, is the impact it would have on our city and actually nonprofits when they apply for federal grants.
There is an open comment period for the designation change, but it ends pretty soon on March 20th. We have a link to where you can leave a comment on this story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Someone who needed a vehicle is getting one, thanks to a donation to Watered Gardens Ministries in Joplin. A person donated a van, and a mother at the Washington Family Hope Center is receiving that gift.
It feels good to be an example to my kids, to just let them know that things do matter, because we could think that, little things don't matter, but really that's a big thing, and it does matter, all the way up from the big things to the small things.
Watered Gardens Ministries thanks everyone for their donations over the years, big or small. Demolition stages are planned for the Pennsylvania Avenue Bridge in Joplin. It's located between 5th and 7th Streets. It was closed about 2 years ago when a state inspection found it to be structurally unsound. City officials this week put out a call for bids for engineering services to prepare for the bridge's eventual demolition. Weather is warming up from the winter, but that brutal cold damaged the butterfly mural at Mercy Park. Workers found the damage on Tuesday. 2 tiles came loose and broke. The group that oversaw the mural's installation will restore it. All of the tiles are being removed. The wall will be treated with a moisture barrier and the tiles will go back on. Mural was installed at Mercy Park to mark the 5th anniversary of the 2011 Joplin tornado. 6:07.
Resilience in Joplin, and that thing will be rebuilt just like everybody in the 4 states has recovered time and time again. Truly amazing people. Starting to see a little bit of rain pick up there in Montgomery County around Independence. Everything else been sporadic and light. And still, that's what we're eyeballing out to the west. That is a severe thunderstorm warning that they have in between Hutch and Wichita. That thing is moving east along Highway 400 and be upon us by the middle of the morning. Tanya?
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the toll on our mental health.
A year of unprecedented stress from the pandemic. I'm Nancy Chen with the potential long-term effects on our mental health.
Plus, a look at how Disneyland hopes to reopen its doors by late April. And you may remember their act on America's Got Talent a few years back. We speak with a performer of Lightwire Theater about an upcoming show coming to the Bolus Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, hope today for thousands of laid-off workers and lovers of all things Disney. Disneyland theme park is hoping to reopen its doors by late April, and they're already starting to call employees back to work. Christina Gonzalez has the story.
It was thrilling. I was like, oh, finally we have, because a year ago, we didn't even think we'd be closed for this long. I mean, it's Disneyland.
But even Disneyland was touched by the pandemic. Closed since mid-March, it's finally reopening the park and California Adventure to California residents at 15% capacity.
Do I feel comfortable going back? Yes.
He's one of over 10,000 furloughed employees called back to work.
I hope that by the time we do reopen, by that time maybe I'll be able to get the vaccine. But even though if it doesn't happen, and I'm comfortable with what they have put in place.
Businesses around the park have been waiting for this moment, at least the ones who have managed to stay open. This gift shop has lost over 85% of its business.
I think with 15% occupancy for the Disneyland, I think, there's not a lot of people that's going to come. And also our business is mostly from people that go to Disneyland also stay in hotels.
Most of the hotels remain closed since the park can only accept in-state visitors. But there is hope in at least one new business betting on Disney's comeback. Bird's Hot Chicken.
We're super stoked because we're getting ready to open up here too. Yeah. We're a brand new place. We're all friends and family here, so we're stoked for the opening. So it's good to hear that things are getting back to normal.
You don't see them much anymore, but there was a time when cassette tapes were everywhere. Remember those? They were indispensable to music lovers around the world, especially on the go. And on Saturday, the man who invented the cassette tape passed away. The family of 94-year-old Dutch inventor Lou Ottens says Otten died at his home in the Netherlands. On top of inventing the cassette tape, Ottens also supervised the team that developed the compact disc. We called it the CD. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell is giving new details about the social media site he's planning to launch. He told Business Insider he's calling it Vocal and says it will be a cross between Twitter and YouTube. Twitter banned Lindell in January after it began combating misinformation following the January 6th Capitol riot. Lindell says his social media site should launch within 10 days to 3 weeks. Then we can all sleep well. Sam Adams is brewing up a non-alcoholic beer. The iconic Boston Brew Company is promising all the flavor but zero the booze. And its latest, just the haze. Sam Adams' first non-alcoholic beer is an IPA 2 years in the making. It features a citrus aroma with hints of grapefruit, tangerine, and lime with an undertone of an array of tropical fruit flavors. The Boston Brew Company says this beer is perfect for non-drinkers who love the taste of beer. Lucky Charms are going green for the St. Patrick's Day. A bowl of limited edition green milk turned cereal, interesting, features Clover Charms that will turn milk green. Special box is available on shelves at major retailers nationwide while supplies last. I got some food coloring that'll do the same thing. That's it for Money Watch. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Now, as we progress through the spring and we begin to see more venues open and the possibility to actually see some live entertainment, we just had Daniel Kays, the executive director of the Thomas Bolus Fine Arts Center in Iola, telling us about an upcoming event. And this is why we're fortunate enough to be joined this morning by Ian Carney of Lightwire Theater. Ian coming to us live from New Orleans, his home base right there. And if the name rings a bell, or if Lightwire Theater rings a bell, maybe because you saw them on the ever-popular show America's Got Talent. Ian, you guys were quarterfinalists, semifinalists?
Semifinalists.
Semifinalists on America's Got Talent, and we're fortunate enough to have you make a visit to the 4 states. Now, if you're not familiar with Lightwire Theater, Ian, coming into this interview, I was thinking, how would I describe it to somebody? Because I've seen you guys on TV, I've seen you guys on YouTube, And then I thought to myself, wait, I got one of the co-creators right here in front of me. What's your elevator speech as far as how you describe the show?
Yeah, well, after about 12 or 13 years, it's still a difficult speech because it's quite strange and unique. You know, we're giant 16-foot birds, we're dinosaurs, we're worms, we're all kinds of strange things that are running around on the stage, telling full-length story, a mixture of dance, puppetry, and theater that you probably have not seen before. Now, luckily at this point, there's a ton of YouTube stuff, so everybody can actually get a glimpse of it. And that's usually how I describe it, is I hold up a phone and play a video of it because it's so different.
You know, as I was watching it, I feel like I was being transported into a different place and time, a different universe. And you're just taken aback by the talent and what you're able to show on screen there. What was the impetus to form this troupe and put this together?
Well, it all started, I was in New York City doing a Broadway show called Moving Out, Billy Joel and Twyla Tharp. And a fellow performer brought me this stuff. It's called L-wire, electroluminescent wire, and then mostly it's on, you know, party hats for kids and things like this, but we have taken it and created all kinds of characters out of it. It's quite different than LEDs because it's not a bunch of dots. So when a dinosaur is running around on the stage, you actually can sort of believe it's a dinosaur. So that's where it kind of all started.
And that was my point there. You honestly feel like you're at a different point in the universe when I'm watching you perform here. And I think the other really interesting thing is I was reading on your website there, like you said, this is not like LEDs, but you use common everyday items to put this show together.
Yeah, well, we're not Disney, so it's not like we can throw carbon fiber, you know, animals at everything and spend millions and millions of dollars. So really, you know, it all started very mom and pop. I mean, there's a ton of zip ties, a ton of duct tape, you know, recycled election signs. You know, when you see those all over the place after elections, we gather them up and we make stuff out of them. So, and what's fun is at the end of each show, when the lights turn on, you know, we get to show a little bit of how all that's put together at the end. And, you know, the kids are amazed and the parents are, you know, they want to know how it's done, you know, so it's a lot of fun.
If you want to find more information about the Lightwire Theater Troupe, where do I go?
Lightwiretheater.com, man. Visual. Go see all that stuff and go to the Bullis website as well.
And folks, it truly is a show you're not going to want to miss. Tickets available on the Bullis website. Ian, safe travels to you, and we look forward to having you in studio at some point soon, if that's all right.
Copy that. Thanks, brother.
Hey, enjoy the Big Easy, my man. We'll be back with more KOAM morning news for you right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, 12 months into the pandemic, Americans have encountered some of the biggest challenges of their lives, coping with high levels of stress, made worse by grief, isolation, and financial troubles. Nancy Chen shows us the toll COVID is taking on our mental health.
Sujin Ceballos began journaling to cope with her increasing anxiety as the pandemic started.
And just really gather my thoughts and just put on the paper whatever it is that I'm feeling.
A new survey from the American Psychological Association shows Americans are experiencing unprecedented stress in the pandemic.
We have adapted over the course of the pandemic. What the survey is showing, though, is that some of our adaptation has been unhealthy.
61% of adults have experienced undesired weight changes. 42% report gaining weight, an average of 29 pounds. 67% are sleeping more or less than they'd like to. 23% are drinking more alcohol.
The new survey also highlights the toll the pandemic has taken on parents with school-age children.
47% of mothers and 30% of fathers with children learning remotely say their mental health has gotten worse. Dr. Arthur Evans of the APA says communities of color are also being impacted during the pandemic.
Both for Hispanics and for African Americans, that they had elevated levels of stress in certain areas, particularly when it came to thinking about the future.
Dr. Evans warns that this country needs to act now for mental health.
We need to shift from a system and an approach that waits until people are in crisis to a process where we are not only dealing with crises, but we're helping people today to mitigate the stress.
Ceballos hopes more people find their outlet.
I write about what I'm feeling overwhelmed about and how I could approach it the next day to make it better.
Especially during these trying times. Nancy Chen, CBS News.
The study also found that Americans are uncertain about the future, with 49% saying they're uneasy about adjusting to interacting again in person once these trying times end. Suffering a head injury in your 50s or younger may have long-term effects on your brain health. Researchers in the UK found those patients scored lower than expected on cognitive tests years after the trauma, leaving them more vulnerable to dementia. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Creeping a little bit closer with each passing moment as the thunderstorm warning out by Wichita has now been extended until 7 a.m. Key factor for it is that it's pushing right along Highway 400 toward our highlighted counties. Biggest threat, got a storm report of 63-mile-an-hour wind gusts. As far as the 4 states in particular, we're starting to get some real good rain in the Independence area as everything filters from west to east. We've yet to pick up any lightning, but remember, our greatest concern is the flooding, as we've got flood watches all until the weekend. And also too, see that little dark green right there? Well, those are not flood watches, those are flood warnings, particularly north of Fort Scott and Nevada. That's going to be for the Little Osage River, and then running through Stockton, that is the Sac River. And remember, that means the flooding is imminent for those 2 rivers in particular. 7-day forecast, temperatures in the 50s today, 60s over the weekend as the rain continues to fall until next week.
A grim anniversary. Frontline health workers at Freeman Hospital talk about their experience battling the pandemic this past year. Plus, what you need to know about the on-site vaccination clinic at the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas. And Joplin's at risk of losing its metropolitan area classification. What that could mean for the city.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. The rain is officially here and it's sticking around, well, all weekend long. Here's Michael with a check of your forecast.
Here's what we've got on our Friday morning, Tanya. We find ourselves at 6:30 and it's been rather scattered and pretty light for us. Now, Independence we really picked up for a little bit, and we did along I-44 as well in the eastern portion of southwest Missouri. What we're eyeballing is what's hanging out by Wichita. That being said, we've got flood watches for the entire 4 states, even flood warnings for the Little Osage and the Sac River in northern southwest Missouri. And of course, the yellow severe thunderstorm warning. This thing's been extended till the 7 o'clock hour as we're picking up a fair amount of lightning. Also 63-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Why is this so important to us? You say it's not part of our highlighted county. It's not going to bother my Friday morning commute. Well, everything is moving out of Wichita along 400, headed right for our highlighted counties. So yeah, it won't be here by 7 because you can tell that's where your cutoff is right there. But eventually by mid-morning, it is going to be here. And now we're starting to pick up just a little lightning for ourselves. Temperatures in the high 40s to mid 50s. Skywatch Storm Tracker, not part of the band right along the cold front, and the warmer temperatures is coming out of central Kansas right there. Our weather trend is going to be a wet one all day long. Temperatures do make it up into the mid 50s. So there we go by mid to late morning as it rolls through. Extremely heavy rain. And then as we get into Friday evening, watch down to the southwest. We got a good line that's just going to ride 44. Now everybody up to the north thinking, hey, we're okay? Nah. Saturday, we're going to be right back on it to the north as well, and that is exactly why just about every single one of our counties is in that flood watch. Anticipate flooded roads all throughout the weekend, and if you have those outdoor plans, let's go ahead and go with an alternative now.
Let's take care of that. Well, Freeman Hospital has been a four-state leader in the fight against the coronavirus ever since it was officially declared a pandemic by the WHO a year ago. And its staff has learned a lot about the virus and its victims during the last 12 months. The hospital's director of COVID services says he's proud of how the Freeman team grew and adapted as they dealt with a deadly disease with a lot of unknowns.
It really was a lot like trying to fly a 757 that you're building at the exact same time. So a year into this, we've expanded out our resources quite a bit. We have 2 completely stocked units that are available for high-level ICU care level patients.
Staff at Freeman also say that while they hate seeing their patients suffering from the coronavirus, there's a special thrill that comes with seeing them recover and reunite with loved ones. Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is offering on-site COVID-19 vaccination clinics for businesses with more than 20 employees. The center recommends businesses set up a break room or open area that can be used as a vaccination site. They also say vaccine recipients should have a 15-minute observation period after the dose before returning to work. Joplin is at risk of losing its status as a metropolitan. A federal proposal would designate Joplin as a micropolitan instead of a metropolitan. Now, currently in the U.S., there are 384 metropolitans and 543 micropolitans. Now, metropolitan is an urban cluster with an anchor city of 50,000 or more people. Now, micropolitan anchor city has a population of 10,000 or more. The new federal proposal would increase the threshold to be considered a metropolitan to 100,000 plus people. So what would that different designation actually change in Joplin? KOAM's Zach Dodge spoke with city leaders to find out.
144 cities across the country could lose their status as metropolitan areas. That includes Joplin.
Instead, it would downgrade, if you will, to a micro-statistical area.
And would likely be that way for a while, since Joplin has a population just over 50,000, much lower than the 100,000 population that would be required for a metro area. The agency making the change says the designation shouldn't be tied to federal funding, but it oftentimes is. Chamber President Toby Teeter says, for that reason, it could impact funding coming to the city government and area nonprofits.
Many federal grants tie to being within a metropolitan statistical area. So we do have some concerns there about our ability to attract federal dollars into our community. And those programs run the gamut.
Now, Teeter was speaking more generally, so we reached out to the city, which referred us back to Teeter, who says the specific implications it could have for Joplin City programs, like transportation and housing, aren't currently clear as they continue to learn what may happen. Many nonprofits we reached out to are in the same boat.
We don't know yet.
Lafayette House receives federal funding, but most generally it gets funneled through the state for specific programs. So there are a lot of unknowns.
It might go both ways. We might have some different opportunities if Joplin were considered a smaller area. But we're hopeful that it wouldn't have an impact on some of our existing funding, which is so critical to us.
In Joplin, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
And there is an open comment period for the designation change, but it ends pretty soon on March 20th. And we have a link to where you can leave a comment attached to the story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. That's a look at our top news stories. First, it's 6:37.
Temperatures today, mid-50s, but look at that Friday panel. That 90%. Well, that may be a little bit of an understatement because we're already in the midst of it as we've got sporadic rainfall for Friday morning throughout the 4 states. And now we're starting to pick up along Highway 400. It's Montgomery County. We've got Labette County there by Parsons, up in between Chanute and Iola. And that's because it's going to intensify as the severe thunderstorm warning in Wichita works its way toward us. Tanya?
Topping Nation Watch this morning on the first anniversary of the start of the COVID-19 pandemic in the U.S., President Biden said vaccines for all would be a reality by the 1st of May. Deborah Alfarone reports from Washington.
President Biden delivered his first primetime address as the nation marked 1 year since the first coronavirus shutdown.
No one could have imagined what we were about to go through.
The president said there would soon be enough COVID-19 vaccine available for anyone who wants it.
I'm announcing that I will direct all states, tribes, and territories to make all adults, people 18 and over, eligible to be vaccinated no later than May 1.
Mr. Biden also announced a goal of a return to some semblance of normal life by the summer.
If we do this together, by July the 4th, there's a good chance you, your families and friends will be able to get together in your backyard or in your neighborhood and have a cookout or a barbecue and celebrate Independence Day.
The speech came hours after the president signed a nearly $2 trillion coronavirus relief bill into law.
This historic legislation is about rebuilding the backbone of this country.
The American Rescue Package includes funding for vaccines, schools, and state and local governments. It also provides for another round of stimulus checks of up to $1,400 for most.
People can expect to start seeing direct deposits hit their bank accounts as early as this weekend.
The bill made it through Congress without the support of a single Republican in either the House or the Senate. The GOP opposed the measure on the grounds that it contains too much unnecessary spending. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
New York state lawmakers have launched an impeachment investigation into Governor Andrew Cuomo. A sixth accuser has come forward, reportedly telling the Albany Times-Union the governor allegedly aggressively groped her at the executive mansion late last year. In Minneapolis, the judge in the trial of the fired officer Derek Chauvin reinstated a charge of third-degree murder to go along with second-degree murder and manslaughter in the death of George Floyd. This will give the jury another option for conviction. Opening arguments are expected in a few weeks. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. It's all about Netflix, as the company's terms of service say accounts may not be shared with individuals beyond your household. Our question is, do you watch Netflix, and would you still participate if it cracks down on password sharing? Casey Haggerty says sharing Netflix is like sharing DVDs that we've already seen. We all do it / did it. Ashley Vickers says, I don't share my password, but if I wanted to, I just would. My payment's gone up in just the last month, so if they change the price anymore, I may actually cancel it anyway. But if they tried to say I couldn't use my account while at someone else's house, or that I couldn't let a friend or family member use it if I wanted to, I'd like to see how they think they could make that happen. Rick Norton Club member, good morning, everyone. We say good morning, Rick. He says, I don't watch Netflix. Doesn't trouble me at all. Colleen McGuire, don't use their service, probably never will, but if I did and I wanted to use my account at a family member's home or a friend's, then that would be my prerogative. If they stopped that, then they wouldn't get my money anymore. And John Trebian says, I'm not pleased with Netflix. They're charging too much money. I have enough channels to watch, but I don't give out my passwords. Good morning, KOM. Good morning, America. We say good morning, John. On the Insta poll this morning, how do you have access to Netflix is our question. 51% of you saying, yeah, have your own account. I find this pretty interesting. 31% don't even have it. Only 18% are on someone else's account. Feel free to make your voice heard. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back. Celebrate birthdays and anniversaries next.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Gerald Spoon, who was a member of the United States Marines. He served from 1951 to 1953. His hometown, Fredonia, Kansas. We are proud to salute Gerald Spoon, our four-state hero.
We're going to get started with Axel Weaver. I'm not sure how he got out of the stroller, but he's ready to rock and roll, because that's what you do when you're 1 year old. Happy birthday, Axel in Fredonia.
He said he's ready to walk, pulling himself up there.
Yeah, he's like, I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's go. I'm one. Enough of this stroller stuff.
All right, turning 6 years old. I'm sure he's been out of the stroller for quite some time now. In Fort Scott, Deacon Tinsley, happy birthday.
I like that hat, Deacon. Looks good, man.
He's a wild
Olivia
one.
Dyson, she's celebrating a 6th birthday as well. Olivia, I want you to have a marvelous day in Pittsburgh.
All right, Brinley Bourne is 7 strong this year. Happy birthday to Brinley in Frontenac.
Also in the neck, that's where we find Walker Stiff. as he is celebrating his 8th birthday. Happy birthday, Walker. Congratulations on getting the day off from school on your birthday.
All right. Wyatt Buck celebrating birthday number 9 this year. That's quite a costume there, Wyatt, in Carthage.
Tatum Pike, a 9th birthday as well. He's slaying them out there. That's how you come home, kiddo. Nice job. Tatum's in Nevada.
All right. Marley Wetzel turning 11 years old this year. Happy birthday to Marley in Pittsburgh.
Ryan Cussler celebrating the pair of 2s. Bet we were out trick-or-treating. What do you think? Is that what they were doing, it looks like?
I think so.
I love that picture. That's
like
great.
we got a little
and Ryan, secure enough to rock the boa. That is the important part. Happy birthday, Ryan, in Chanute.
Something tells me that little girl picked it out for him. All right, we've got Hunter McPherson celebrating birthday number 24 in Frontenac. And in that picture, you see him holding his 1-month-old son. Oh, it's been a good year.
That's good right there. Katie Carlskin, she is celebrating a 42nd birthday. Marvelous family pick right there. Happy birthday, Miss Katie in Pittsburgh.
Jeremiah Davis turning 46 years old this year. Happy birthday, Jeremiah.
And in Lamar, a happy 49th birthday to Jeff Hamilton.
Ronald Sachs turning 67 years old this year. That's a good picture there of him in Joplin.
That is Ronald E. Sachs to you. Oh, folks, I wish you could have seen the look that Tanya just gave me. It was resplendent and complete with eye roll. What else was there?
And that was not towards you, Ronald.
No, that wasn't
in any
towards
way or
Ronald. Not at
form.
all. Not at all. It's Ronald's birthday. You can't do
I
that.
love it when Michael corrects me. I really do.
I wasn't correcting you. I was just
Could
pointing
you hit
out.
the sarcasm in my voice?
Maybe Mr. Sachs. Maybe that's how he introduces himself. To
Ronald E. Sachs, happy birthday. There, that make you feel better?
Moria Gothier, she's celebrating a birthday, and Moria, this comes with special love from Mom and Dad.
And Sarah Leggett, wishing you a happy birthday as well. Happy birthday, Sarah.
Michael and Brandy Sliger, celebrating a decade. Congratulations to Michael and Brandy. Now, this happy anniversary wish also comes from Lulu. I want you guys to know that. Reach out today and tell Lulu Michael said what's up.
All right, here's another anniversary wish. A 17th anniversary for Eric and Heather Blundell. Congratulations.
We gotta find out why we didn't get a picture on this first one here. We'll get to the bottom of it. Carl Ulepich, a very happy birthday. Carl's in the knack. Mike Wommeldorf, celebrating his 74th birthday. Mike, long time no see. He's in Parsons. Joanne Pesavento, celebrating 81. And her twin sister, Joyce Garrettson, celebrating 81. Now, Joanne's in Chicopee, Joyce is in Pittsburgh, and these happen to be the aunts of our wonderful graphic artist, Will York. Tanya?
I have one more birthday to add.
Yeah, of course.
It's one that I always add on March 12th, but I'm never allowed to put a picture on. It's my husband's birthday.
Got it.
And he's 40 years old today. There, I told the world, James.
Happy
I'm
birthday,
sorry.
James. The big 40, eh? Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all, including you, Mr. James. And that's where you can send them into. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. In his first primetime speech, President Biden marked the one-year anniversary of the global pandemic. The president announced he's directing states to make all adults eligible for COVID vaccines by May 1st, though he said it would take longer for everyone to get the shot. He also said if people do the right thing, there's a good chance Americans will be able to have small gatherings on July 4th. Freeman Hospital has been a 4-state leader in the fight against the coronavirus ever since it was officially declared a pandemic by the WHO a year ago. and its staff has learned a lot about the virus and its victims during the last 12 months. Hospital's director of COVID services says he's proud of how the Freeman team grew and adapted as they dealt with a deadly disease with a lot of unknowns. Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is offering on-site COVID-19 vaccination clinics for businesses with more than 20 employees. Center recommends businesses set up a break room or open area that can be used as a vaccination site. They also say vaccine recipients should have a 15-minute observation period after the dose before returning to work. The Joplin area could lose its designation as a metropolitan area. Legislative Review Committee recommends the U.S. Office of Management and Budget change the classification for metropolitan areas. The change would require the population for a core city to be above 100,000 instead of 50,000 like it's been for 70 years. That would change 144 cities, including Joplin, from metropolitan areas to micropolitan areas, something that local officials feel could impact the city negatively. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Well, we still have little pockets of heavy rain here on a Friday morning, really concentrating on what's working in from the west as we now have the lightning from that thunderstorm that was in Wichita making its way into the 4 states, and that's some elongated bands of heavy rain right there. We knew on Friday we were only just starting the torrential downpour that's going to carry us into the weekend. Temperatures in the mid-50s. More important thing is the flood watches that we have as it just continues to roll through late morning all the way into the afternoon. Then we go from southwest down for Friday night to Saturday. Good band along I-44. Saturday afternoon, northern portion of the 4 states. Nope, you are not exempt. And that's more all the way in to Sunday. 7-day forecast will finally get a breather, at least decrease those rain chances by the time we get to Monday.
Well, your morning news continues on KOAM, and today CBS This Morning heads to Chanute, Kansas for its Women and Work series.
A mother who was forced to quit her job for childcare reasons talks about the struggles she's faced during the pandemic.
Just little things, and sometimes, you know, my kids need something just small, like or they have a cough and I need medicine, and those things don't come on food cards, and those things you can't get with health insurance cards. So it's just the little things, I guess. And if their feet have grown and they're still wearing the same shoes. We didn't have Christmas at all. You know, just day to day, it's hard for me to keep a smile on my face and to tell them everything's going to be okay when I'm not sure myself.
We'll have more on Tammy's story and what you can do if you find yourself in a similar situation. That's coming up next on CBS This Morning.
And coming up today at noon, we're making easy butter chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, you can also switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we catch up with Daniel Kay of the Bolus Fine Arts Center, talk about some upcoming performances, including one on March 20th that includes a semifinalist from America's Got Talent. It's from the Lightwire Theater. As a matter of fact, we're going to be able to catch up with one of the founders of the theater troupe and talk to him about the marvelous performance that they put on. That wraps it up for this edition of the KOAM Morning News. Watch out for the flooding. Don't forget to set those clocks forward before you go to bed Saturday night / Sunday morning. We'll do this all again on Monday when it's daylight savings time.
Yeah, hopefully we get the time right, and we'll see you today at noon as well.